Chosen one, there is a sacred courtroom in the spiritual realm where your name is being spoken with a sense of profound urgency. A collective of witnesses is looking at the blueprint of your life. They are looking at the seasons of isolation, the betrayals you did not deserve, and the quiet endurance you showed when the world was loud with judgment. And they are demanding an answer. Why was this okay to do to you? You have lived with the heavy static of that question for years, wondering if your pain was invisible. It was not. You have been led to this specific moment, not by a digital pulse, but by a divine hand that is ready to turn the page. This is the hour of your vindication. We are not just going to talk about what happened. We are going to reveal the deeper layers of why it happened, and how that very opposition was the furnace that forged your authority. You are not a victim of a community's brokenness. You are the evidence of its need for light. Take a breath, stay with me, and let the answers finally settle into your spirit. Your restoration starts now. Before we go any further, I need you to commit to staying with me until the very end of this message. Do not let the distractions of the world pull you away from what is about to be revealed. If you stay through to the final word, you are not just going to get comfort. You are going to receive 3 specific things that will permanently alter your trajectory. First, I am going to show you the exact spiritual mechanics of why you were targeted, so you never have to question your worth again. Second, I will give you a specific mental framework to clear the heavy emotional residue of their judgment from your nervous system. And finally, before we close, I will reveal the new spiritual rank you have just stepped into. The truth is unfolding, and you need the complete picture to step into your new reality. Think back to the moments that hurt the most. I want you to imagine sitting in a room full of people who are supposed to be your people. Family, friends, or a community you dedicated your heart to. Imagine sitting there, watching their mouths move, hearing their laughter, but feeling an invisible cold wall between you and them. You were right there in the room, yet they talked and acted as if your spirit did not even exist. Or worse, they only acknowledged you when they needed someone to carry their burdens, solve their problems, or take the blame when things went wrong. Notice how your chest feels tighter than it should when you remember those rooms. Notice how your mind has been louder than usual lately, replaying conversations, trying to figure out what you did to make them treat you with such careless disregard. Notice how your spirit has felt crowded and exhausted, even when you are physically alone. You have carried the weight of their misunderstanding in your bones. You have spent countless nights asking the silence, why was it okay for them to treat me like an outsider? Why was it acceptable for them to ignore my gifts and highlight my human flaws? I am here to tell you that it was never okay. There is a deep, resonant outrage in the unseen realm right now regarding how you were handled. The higher intelligence that watches over your path sees exactly what was done. Every time they dismissed your voice, every time they labeled you as too sensitive or too intense, every time they projected their own unhealed shadows onto your light and convinced everyone else that you were the problem. The universe recorded every single instance. You see, a community is supposed to be a place of incubation and protection. But when a community is operating on a low, survival-based frequency, it becomes terrified of anyone who carries a higher vibration. You carried a frequency of truth, of healing, and of breaking generational cycles. But instead of receiving the medicine you brought, they rejected the healer. They pushed you into the wilderness because your light was exposing the dust in their comfortable dark rooms. But here is what you must understand about this divine outrage. The universe is not just angry on your behalf. It is actively reorganizing reality to compensate you. What felt like a painful betrayal, what felt like a devastating rejection, was actually a divine extraction. You thought you were losing your place in a community, but the universe was actually pulling you off a sinking ship. The rejection was not a failure of your character. It was the universe forcefully removing you from a system that was too small, too rigid, and too broken to hold the massive purpose you were born to fulfill. You were never meant to fit into the box they tried to force you into. The pressure you felt, the isolation that almost broke you, it was all doing a very specific job. It was stripping away the false identity you adopted just to survive among them. You had to experience their rejection so you would stop seeking their validation. You had to feel the sting of their betrayal so you would finally turn inward and discover the unshakable foundation of your own soul. If your spirit just confirmed that. If something in your chest shifted, because you know deep down that your mistreatment was noticed by heaven, and that this unseen outrage is real, type 777 inches, the comments right now, to anchor that truth. Let it be a physical declaration that you accept the universe's vindication. We have established the reality of what you endured and the spiritual response to it. But to truly understand why they reacted to you the way they did, we cannot stay on the surface. We have to look deeper into the architecture of their minds and yours. Because what happened to you was not just an emotional conflict, it was a clash of frequencies. There is a specific mechanism in your brain, a dormant power, that they subconsciously recognized and tried to shut down. And discovering what that mechanism is will change everything you thought you knew about your past. That mechanism is what we call the scapegoat dynamic, and it is deeply tied to the energetic frequency you carry. You see, every human brain and spirit operates on a specific frequency. When you were placed in that community, that friend group, or that family system, you were operating on a completely different wavelength than the people around you. They were heavily anchored in survival mode. They were anchored in fear, in maintaining appearances, and in protecting their own unhealed wounds. You, on the other hand, were wired for expansion. You were wired for truth. I want you to understand exactly why they attacked you and why they isolated you. It was not because you were flawed. It was because you were a mirror. When people who have spent their entire lives running away from their own shadows are suddenly forced to stand next to someone carrying genuine light, that light does not feel warm to them. It feels like an interrogation. It feels like a threat. They looked at your authenticity, and it reminded them of the masks they were forced to wear. They looked at your spiritual sensitivity, and it highlighted their spiritual numbness. So, instead of doing the hard work to heal themselves, they unconsciously agreed to make you the problem. If you are the broken one, if you are the difficult one, then they do not have to look at themselves. Notice the subtle tension in your jaw right now as you remember those unfair criticisms. Notice the slight drop in your stomach when you recall how quickly they turned their backs on you, how easily they misunderstood your purest intentions. I want you to breathe deeply into that exact spot of discomfort in your body and let this realization wash over your nervous system. You were never the problem. You were the cure they were too terrified to swallow. This is not a new phenomenon. It is an ancient pattern woven into the fabric of human history. Look at the story of Joseph from the ancient texts. He carried the dream. He carried the vision and the higher frequency of his bloodline. And what did his own brothers do? They hated him for his coat, they mocked his dreams, and they threw him into a dark pit. They betrayed him not because he was evil, but because his very existence threatened their stagnant, comfortable reality. But here is the profound truth about Joseph that you must apply to your own life right now. His betrayal by his own blood was not an accident. It was the exact transportation method required to move him from the pit to the wilderness and ultimately to the palace. Without the betrayal, he would have stayed in a tent, shrinking himself to make his brothers comfortable. There is a biological reality to this spiritual calling that you need to be aware of. When you were a child, before the world told you to quiet down, before they told you to be realistic and fit in, your brain naturally produced a massive amount of what neuroscientists call the gamma wave. This is the super brainwave. It is the God-given frequency of intuition, of rapid learning, and of deep spiritual connection. But the modern world, the rigid educational systems, and the fear-based communities you grew up in are literally designed to suppress this frequency. Scientists call this the decline effect. The community that rejected you was actively trying to shut down your gamma frequency, because a mind operating in that state of divine flow cannot be controlled, cannot be manipulated, and cannot be made to feel small. I am going to show you exactly how to bypass their programming and effortlessly reactivate that God-given frequency in just a moment. But before we go any further, before I show you the massive twist in your story, I want to ask you to do something. Gently press the like button on this video. Do not do it for me. Do it so this specific message can reach another chosen one who is sitting in their own wilderness tonight. Someone who is crying out, wondering why they were abandoned by the very people they loved and served. Let your action be the beacon of light that finds them in the dark. Now, let me show you what is really happening behind the scenes of your life. Everything I just told you about being the scapegoat, about being the mirror for their unhealed trauma, is entirely true. But it is not the whole truth. The whole truth of why the universe allowed them to treat you that way is much harder to digest. But it is the absolute key to your liberation. What if I told you that the pain they caused you, the isolation they forced you into, was never actually about them at all? It was about your destiny demanding that you leave. I want you to let this sink into your spirit. If that community had accepted you, if those people had celebrated your light, if they had loved you the way you wanted them to, you would have stayed. You would have shrunk your massive spirit to fit into their small boxes. You would have settled for a comfortable, mediocre existence on a sinking ship. The universe looked at your life, looked at the magnitude of your calling, and realized that the only way to get you out of that toxic environment was to make it so uncomfortable that you had to leave. Their rejection was not a punishment, it was your protection. The universe used their blindness, their jealousy, and their unhealed trauma as an eviction notice. You thought you were being abandoned by people, but you were actually being extracted by a higher intelligence. They did not push you out. Heaven pulled you up. They thought they were burying you under the weight of their rumors, their silence, and their judgment. But they did not realize they were dealing with an alchemist. An alchemist does not fear the fire, because the alchemist knows the fire is the only mechanism that turns heavy, useless lead into pure gold. The immense pressure they put on you was not meant to crush you. It was the exact atmospheric pressure required to turn your raw potential into an unbreakable diamond. Everything they did to tear you down was secretly being used by the universe to build your spiritual stamina. They were handing you the very tools you needed to become undeniable. You have been asking why it was okay for them to do this to you. It was never okay for them, and they will have to face the spiritual consequences of their actions. But it was necessary for you. It was the absolute only way to break your addiction to their validation. If your spirit is resonating with this reality right now, if the heavy burden of their rejection just lifted because you finally see the divine strategy behind it, type "I see it" in the comments. Let that simple action be your official declaration that you understand why the door had to close, and you are no longer trying to pry it open. Take a deep, slow breath right now. Let your shoulders drop. The hardest part of your journey, the heaviest truth you needed to confront, is behind us. You have survived the extraction. You have survived the wilderness of their silence. But this brings us to the most critical crossroads of your journey. Knowing why they did it is only half the battle. The real breakthrough happens when you shift your frequency for what comes next. What happens when you stop looking backward, constantly seeking their why, and start looking forward, aggressively seeking your how? What happens when you finally understand how the universe plans to compensate you for every tear you shed in private? There is a very specific spiritual law of restoration that has just been activated over your life. And understanding how to step into it is going to change the way you navigate every opportunity from this day forward. That spiritual law of restoration is not a theory. It is a biological and energetic reality that you can measure. But I have to ask you something right now. Why do your prayers sometimes feel like they are hitting a brass ceiling? Why does it feel like you are doing all the spiritual work, yet the physical breakthrough remains just out of reach? It is because your brain is currently stuck in a frequency of survival. When you have been treated as a scapegoat for years, your nervous system is hardwired to expect attack. This creates a neural static that blocks the very signals of abundance you are trying to receive. There is a frequency, a state of genius, that you possessed as a child. It is the state where synchronicities happen effortlessly and where you feel an unshakable connection to the source. Modern science calls this the gamma brainwave. It is the God-given frequency of the chosen one. But as I mentioned earlier, the decline effect and the toxic environments you survived have effectively turned this frequency off. A neuroscientist with 34 years of experience, Dr. Robert Lake, has spent his career studying this exact phenomenon. His work at institutions like MIT and Harvard has confirmed that you can actually reactivate this dormant authority. Part of his broader research, which includes advanced protocols like the youthful brain and neuroactive, led to the creation of a very specific spiritual tool. It is called the Genius Song. It is not just a digital track. It is a recalibration device for your spirit. It uses precise brain entrainment technology to guide your mind back into that gamma state in just 7 minutes a day. Imagine your mind is like a radio stuck on a static channel. The Genius Song is the key that turns the dial back to the frequency of flow. Now, you could try to achieve this through traditional biofeedback therapy, which costs $300 an hour. You could even buy the heavy equipment used in labs for $7,000. Dr. Lake originally intended for this digital version to be $50, but because he believes in providing tools for those truly entering their season of breakthrough, you can access it for just $39 through the link in the description and the pinned comment. This includes 4 powerful bonuses like the Genius Child Track and a full money-back guarantee. Please be careful of counterfeit sites or fake versions on other platforms. Those do not have the entrainment technology and can actually disrupt your focus. Only use the official link provided if your spirit resonates with this recalibration. Once your mind is recalibrated, you are ready to understand the deepest answer to why you went through the fire. Look at the original Hebrew language in the sacred texts. Most people see the word restore and think it simply means getting back what was taken. But the original word is shalom. In its deepest meaning, shalom does not just mean restoration. It means to be made complete. It means to be paid back with interest. It is as if a court finds a thief guilty and orders them to pay you $500 for the 100 they stole. The universe is not just restoring you, it is overpaying you for your suffering. This is the truth that changes everything. To step into this shalom reality, you must apply what I call the permission protocol. You do not need a pen or paper for this. You only need your internal authority. I want you to take a steady breath and visualize a heavy iron gate in your mind. This gate represents every person or community that told you that you were not allowed to be powerful, wealthy, or happy. Now, in your mind, I want you to walk up to that gate and realize it was never locked from the outside. You were the one holding the key. See yourself turning that key and watching the gate dissolve into light. Quietly declare to yourself, I give myself permission to outgrow the people who refuse to grow. I give myself permission to be rewarded for my endurance. I give myself permission to occupy the space God has prepared for me. Feel the weight of that permission settle into your bones. This is not a request, it is a commissioning. If your spirit just confirmed this truth, if you are ready to receive the overpayment for the years you spent in the wilderness, I want you to seal this moment. Type I receive in the comments right now to claim your shalom compensation. Say it with the force of someone who knows exactly who they are. Say it with the force of someone who knows exactly who they are. Because the truth is, you are no longer the person who pressed play on this message. That person was seeking answers, but the version of you standing here now has found a commission. You are the one who carries light into rooms that forgot what light looks like. You are the cycle breaker who ends generational and relational patterns that came before you. You are the truth carrier who sees through illusions and refuses to live inauthentically. This is your new rank. This is your true identity. You were not treated poorly because you were small. You were targeted because you are a giant who had not yet realized their own height. And now, before we leave this space, we must seal this work with a sacred closing. I want you to imagine yourself standing in a hall of mirrors, but instead of reflecting your past mistakes or the cruel words that community said to you, every mirror reflects the version of you that has already won. Notice the light radiating from your chest. Notice the settled peace in your spirit. I hear the Father saying that He has seen every weight you carried in the dark. He has witnessed the faithfulness you showed in the small, silent moments when no one else was looking. We begin by releasing the heavy static of the past. As I speak these words, see the weight falling off your shoulders. I release the need for an apology that will never come. Release. I release the ghost of their judgment. Release. I release the false identity of being the scapegoat. Release. I release the memory of being overlooked. Release. I release the trauma of betrayal. Release. I release the fear of being seen in my full power. Release. I release the guilt of outgrowing those who refuse to change. Release. I now activate your true authority. I call forth the seer who perceives the signs. I activate the peacemaker who dissolves conflict by their mere presence. I open the doors that were held shut by your own disbelief. You are being deployed into your destiny right now. There is a fierce protection over your life that guards what is being built from any premature exposure. You are covered. You are chosen. You are sent. In your mind, stand tall and declare this with unshakable conviction. I am a cycle breaker. I am the carrier of divine light. I am ready for the shalom compensation that is flowing toward me now. It is done. It is sealed. We receive it. Now, do not say amen yet. I want you to sit in this frequency for just 1 minute. Let the weight of this truth settle into your bones. Let the silence speak to you. One more thing before you go. You might feel like you are standing at the very beginning of a long path, and perhaps you are, but you have been equipped with tools that most people spend lifetimes searching for. Some of the most advanced chosen ones I know have even moved beyond the genius frequency into what Dr. Lake calls destiny's embrace. It is a space of total alignment that many are not yet ready to hear about, but you are getting closer every day. If this message brought clarity to your confusion, if it brought peace to your chaos, and if it brought confirmation to what you have been feeling but could not name, let your like be your agreement. Let it be your silent amen that sends this energy further into the collective field. Someone else's frequency is waiting to match this message, and your simple action could be the signal they have been praying for. If you feel called to stay connected for the revelations that are being prepared for your next season, subscribe to align with the thousands of awakened souls who are walking this same path. You are not alone in this awakening. And for those who felt the resonance with what I shared earlier about recalibrating your brainwaves, the link to the Genius song is in the description and the pinned comment below. Investigate it only if you feel led. And finally, look around you. There is someone in your life right now who needs to hear this. Someone who has been pulled away from everyone lately. Someone who has been unusually quiet. Someone who has been struggling to explain the depth of the betrayal they just survived. Text this to them. Send it however you need to, because your share could be the exact moment their spirit has been waiting for to understand that their isolation is not punishment. It is preparation. You are not leaving a message today. You are leaving an entire season of being misunderstood. Go in peace, for the universe is now moving on your behalf.